Ain't it a glorious day, right as the morning in May. I feel like I could fly. Hey, everybody, welcome to Unrestful Hearts in the Garden of Glory. My name is Grant Ellis. I'm your game master, master of the ceremonies, coming to your territory. Cheese it up like macaroni. I'm not going to do the full rap, but I could if I had to. Hello to those watching live on Twitch, and if you're watching on YouTube, please be sure to join us every Saturday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for the live show. Today we're playing episode 6 of Unrestful Hearts in the Garden of Glory, also known as the Nightingale Sonatas. That's the episode title. Let's go around to the cast and crew and figure out who we are and who we're playing. Again, my name is Grant Ellis, and I'm an independent content creator for tabletop role-playing games. I have 6 different titles that are being published this year, so I would say yay me. I'm starting to question every decision I've ever made in my life. That's enough about me. Let's go around to meet the rest of the cast. So also joining us tonight is Pro Starter. How you doing, Pro?
I'm doing good. Thank you for having me. Yeah, super glad to be back and enjoying what is this drama-filled game, and looking forward to everything. I play Danielle, the Eagle, the eternal light of the Church of Life. The sitting
you can
crown.
give it long flowing robes and like etched in gold.
I swear your title gets longer every episode.
I think a small servant follows behind Sarah Danielle, and as Laird Danielle comes through the doors, they release doves and just bang a gong.
Absolutely.
Good job, you got plenty of funds.
Also joining us tonight, E. Treffery. How you doing, Em?
Hi, I'm doing well. So hi, yeah, my name's Em, Eddie Treffery. I'm the Tursphere. I'll be playing Chef Ophelia DeLion, our sweet girl trying to keep fighting with heart in the middle of all this politics and games and good drama.
Well, it's excellent to have you, and I think we're about due to see what's been going on with Chef Ophelia back in Capital while the rest of the party was away. Also returning tonight is Poisel. How you doing, friend?
I am doing great. It is good to be here. I'm excited to return to Chevan Timony. Well, it's not Dragon anymore. We should update this thing. It's something.
House DeMarks.
So, yeah. House something. Yeah. So yes. House
Proletariat.
Yes. It's a nice country you got here. Be sad if something happened to it.
Would be a shame if someone usurped the means of production.
Indeed.
Crown, what a fascinating concept.
Little Cup of Joe can't join us tonight. Their Raven is the sad bird is too busy counting their money to interfere with the storyline, but Joe is certainly missed. And we'll return next week. Last but not least, Sarah Cataline, Burst of Hope. Jess, how you doing?
I'm fabulous. I mean, yay. It's glad to see you. It's been a while, Grant.
I know, right? A couple hours.
Yeah, just a wee bit. It's awesome to be back. I'm super excited to have Chef Ophelia and Sarah Danielle back. I will be playing Sarah Cataline de Wolf tonight, and Cataline is playing the long game.
Slow burns, more like it. You and all that tense romance last session. We all want it to happen, but I don't think it will.
Romance, what's the difference?
They were definitely battle girlfriends. They were great. So let me check my notes. I got a whole slew of things to remind us of. Before we begin today's show, I'd remind you guys that we're sponsored by Fantasy Grounds, our virtual tabletop of choice. All the beautiful maps and roles you see tonight are using Fantasy Grounds, I can assure you, which you can try for free at fantasygrounds.com. You can also get all your miniatures from Wayland Games. Go to waylandgames.co.uk and get yourself a huge range of Dungeons & Dragons, Warhammer, and 40k minis for 20% off. This week, check out our new sponsor, Dice Envy, who have an amazing subscription service where you get cool dice every month, as opposed to the hot dice. Hot dice is my new phrase of choice. Oh man, hot dice! Starting at just $5, you can have access to limited run dice delivered to your door. Join us at diceenvy.com and use the code EncounterRP for 10% off of everything. You can also support the show by retweeting the tweet, and I'm gonna throw that tweet. I know Encounter Will, the man with the beard himself, has been posting that, as well as make sure you visit our sponsors. Here we go. All right. Finally, I'll remind you how we can interact with today's games. You can donate to affect the game by forcing tarot readings, giving a pet to our lovely cast. We've had some horses and a massive wolf that have been donated in the past. You can also give them nat 20s, or in our case, narrative strength, refresh their dice pools, etc. Definitely, we appreciate all donations that go to help maintain and keep this lovely platform functioning. Also, if there's a moment you love during the show, please clip it on Twitch, and we'll be using these as highlight reels and on Twitter. Without any further ado, I'm going to take over as the game master, and we can begin to play. So as we recall, there have been a few changes to the rule set. We no longer play annual sessions, meaning each session equals 1 year of time. We determine how much time passes between our scenes, if any at all. The show has given a lot of narrative control to our players, and we now set scenes ourselves. However, as we clear out our story clocks, which we have, we must play a tarot card, and I have a tarot card here. Let's make sure that I divine. Oof, it's an flipped King of Swords. Flipped King of Swords. So, correct me if I'm wrong, but the Swords family is tied, I want to say, to House. No, it's tied to House Eagle. It's tied to the church. It's tied to Sarah Danielle.
Oh,
Interesting.
oh boy.
King has flipped.
Swords are the suit of air, and eagles are the house of the air, if you were to go by elemental properties of each suit.
Thank you, Shiv.
The meaning of the card that I have defined is tyranny, abuse, and manipulation.
Oh, shit.
That doesn't apply or sound like anyone I know in this game.
No, not at all.
As Sarah Danielle has been persecuted and chased and sought after. The Laird of Light themselves, Sarah Danielle, has been hunted. They have been hunted by an organization that we're going to call it the Burn. And they will burn, and they will remove, they will cauterize this wound that has infected this kingdom. Maybe not that intense.
It hurts.
Let's roll a
I'm
D10.
already. I'm wounded.
They'll excise it.
Oh my
So-
God.
Welcome to Trauma Center.
Your body had been hidden, and we can decide exactly how that came to pass. So, do we have any player that was anyone willing to help assist in the protection of Sarah Danielle and their body while they were recovering?
It would make sense for Ophelia to have done so, although I do have an alternative plan for a thing she probably would have been doing while the others were off fighting a war.
Yeah, I don't know if Sir Cataline and I even knew that Sir Daniel, at least not. Maybe the news finally reached us like after the negotiations out in the Goldenwood, but that would have been some time after the event.
Yeah.
You would have found out today. In fact, here's what we're going to do. Since Joe's not here today, I'll set a scene. And the tarot card informs this particular scene. So using our relationship scene engine, and this will be a relatively short scene, we decide that this is a personal scene. And the stake is whether or not the burn gets hold of Ser Daniel's body. And the foreground of the scene are the agents who are moving, transporting, and taking Ser Daniel, Lair Daniel, to a place, we'll call it the essentially the Hills of Healing. There's a place in the Middle Country. There's an estate that House Dragon has, which is sort of a wellness complex. There are healers there. They treat and help people recover. Although there are many who would like to intercept Ser Daniel's body en route. So essentially the foreground is going to be that chase and that pursuit. The question we're going to answer is really whether or not you knights are willing to stand by Ser Daniel as a friend and view Ser Daniel as the one who should be sitting on the throne and or not. That's the question I want to answer, because if we feel Daniel should be on the throne, then we can take actions towards keeping them there. If not, then we've got to get Daniel to take up the sword again and Thor knight it up until the time is right to take the throne back. So kind of the conflicts here, extrinsically, outside forces are the burn. They are hunting Ser Daniel. They want to take their body. Intrinsically, this conflict is the knight's feelings towards Ser Daniel's claim to sovereignty. And then we're going to play to set this out. So let's decide who's in this scene. Who do we send to take Ser Daniel to recover fully and to escape the burn? Donald 100% would be willing to, if Orphelia asked him to.
Yeah, Orphelia is, I think, off doing something else. So I think, yeah.
Your life is in Donald's capable hands, bro. All right. So that's how it's going to play. So, Danielle, your eyes open. Two large, strong, meaty hands. Some people would call them dishwashing hands. Others would call them meat packing hands. These are not precise hands. These are just, these are natural meat hooks. These are like the beef just picks up your frame, scoops you up as if you were nothing, lighter than air, and you are carried very dashingly by a large caped figure who is kind of pretending to be Batman as they run from pillar to pillar. Dun-dun-dun-dun. Dun-dun-dun-dun. Donald looks down at you. I am the knight. And then whisks you away to a wagon.
Please let it be like the 90s version of Batman theme tune, the cartoon.
Yes. Yes, and like the whole ride, like Donald keeps turning his head and is shouting it to you. The burn is coming to catch you. You can see, because Donald has turned your bed so you can look out the back of the wagon. You see 4 riders on horseback. What do? Do you shout to Donald? Do you alert them to your presence? Because he was going fast. Now he's kind of lunching while he drives. He's got an entire basket of apples. He's like, apples, my laird?
That's what they found us. The apple seller was a swine.
I left a trail of literal breadcrumbs.
Daniel, behind us, 4 riders. Donald. Sorry, not Daniel, that's my name.
Do you want me to,
I'm incoherent.
Well, we're much slower than them. My mommy told me You always take a challenge head on. And so Donald stops the wagon and dismounts.
Oh no!
And the riders get into a circle. You see from the wagon.
I'll kill my
And
boy.
well, we'll see what happens.
So there's
Am I-
no
am I-
narrative point I can spend
You
here.
You are swaddled. You are swaddled at the moment, Daniel. You see they go to draw swords, and in a single swipe, he draws and beheads the 4 riders. I rolled a 9 for Donald. And though he has brutish hands, they're exceptionally fast. And he kind of... you notice he collects something from their belts, and he comes up with like little coin pouches. He sets at your feet. He goes, "Don't tell Orphelia that I stole those." And like he kind of says it like that, and then gets back on the wagon, takes another chomp out of his apple, continues to ride. Donald is loyal to Laird Danielle. And Donald, at this point, has become what we call a third-tier NPC. So there's nameless people. They're just people. We don't even know their names. There's people who are first level, some of the earlier squires when we first started playing. Donald has lived through 6 sessions and is very good at killing right
And
now.
will continue living through more of them.
Damn
It's
right.
the rules.
It's the rules.
An apple a day keeps the burn away.
Yeah, and then he kind of holds an apple. He's like, "Take a bite." He holds it right above your mouth. Or if you prefer, he holds up a small bowl of applesauce.
What did you? I don't want. Okay, just give me the apple.
he
You're
sticks it
swaddled.
in the
You're
mouth of
like,
a pig.
your arms. You're like,
He holds. I think he kind of delicately just kind of like rubs his hand across your hair, just kind of, he's very, very kind to you, and he just goes, "Don't worry, my laird, I got your back." And so he takes off, and that is the end of the scene. So that's our first scene tonight. So it was the result of a tarot card, and we have deepened the relationship between Donald and Sir Daniel, and we know that Donald is loyal, and Donald's we know 2 things. He's loyal to the laird and recognizes the laird's duty to sit on the throne. He is more loyal to Chev Orphelia, so he will essentially be turn his head like the faithful dog he is. He'll play nice and nuzzle up to you, pro restarter. But if the master comes, we'll run off to the master. However, he's got your back from now.
I could ask you about that. Is he still like honor bound? Is that something that he still has as like a thing?
Oh yes, he is. He is still honor bound. So now let's turn the wheels to the narrative over to Chev Orphelia to start, because she had something else that she would be doing, and then Sir Daniel will get to set the next scene, and you can even set the next scene at your return to capital or riding out into battle or wherever. But now let's sort of talk with Chev Orphelia. Currently, your goals and how you want to frame your next scene.
Yeah. So I was thinking after this attempted assassination with Alicenda, and how she has shown up before, and I'm assuming at some point I probably found out that she was Chev Beatrice's twin sister. I don't think I knew that the first time I met her. I think Orphelia is going to try to track her down, and I would like to take Chev Beatrice with me. Not to kill her, but we could bring her back and bring her to justice.
oh my god.
That's a scene we can certainly set. The hunt for Alicenda. So where do you want this scene to start and take place? And our other players, if there's any other non-player characters we want to work into the scene, we can bring them in as appropriate. We don't have to start with them there, but if we need to add to the scene, we can do that. So where would this take place?
I mean, I guess it depends if we want it to be the actual skipping straight to the confrontation or if there's more to do there.
Yeah, so think about what you want to learn. Whatever you want to learn, let's play to that. And then if we need to extend the scene, we certainly can.
Or if you want to deepen your relationship or some aspect of it with Chef Beatrice, like a conversation on the road on the way there.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, I mean, I think making this a scene more about finally showing Chef Beatrice that Orphelia is not a disappointment anymore and actually can do night stuff good would probably be a goal for this scene. Because after she lost that duel, she did effectively spend a year basically training to be better. I think maybe there's something that happens along the way. I don't think we immediately find her because this is an important character who's probably not super easy to find.
What might be at stake is the trail to find Alicinda quickly or slowly. So the stakes that we've set are the trail to find Alicinda. We are hunting together. Alicinda will either elude us once more, and we know that the question you want to answer, it sounds like to me, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, is does Chev Beatrice respect you as a knight?
Yeah, that seems fair.
Or rather, am I ready to demonstrate my skills?
Yeah, because we're feeling grown enough to be considered a knight worthy of that title in Chev Beatrice's eyes.
And so do you answer this question through a conversation with Chef Beatrice or through a demonstration of skill or both?
I think demonstration of skill is a fun place to start.
You want to do it fighting bandits or are you like practice dueling at camp?
Oh.
Chef Beatrice like snidely comments on your form. You know, when you dropped your arm against the Dragon Queen, dropped what?
God. No. I do love a good spar. So yeah, I think maybe how this starts out then is that there's been like a bunch of pretty terse probably conversation over the course of this, and then I think Chef Beatrice drops one comment while we're like making dinner or whatever about how like a silly mistake that Orphelia made during that fight, and then it just becomes, all right, fine, well, you want to throw down now, let me show you.
Yeah, it's one of those things, and what we're doing is at the point of this conversation, and this will give you a little more insight into Chef Beatrice. She has arranged your dinner plate with various morsels of food. Now, this was the Dragon Queen here. This was you here. And then she pulls up like a little chicken wing, and she like drops the arm. She goes, you kept dropping your left like this. Though I had shown you hundreds of times, keep it up, step and keep it up. But
I told you there was a reason for it. I didn't expect her to be that fast.
You've been training with Sir Catalina a bit too much. You've been forgetting the advanced forms.
Really? I've been forgetting the advanced forms. All right, fine. Well then, fine. Then show me. If you know my form so much better than I do, show me right now. And I take that.
Take out the claws. Chef Beatrice watch that goes, and she goes, "You're gonna go fetch that."
Only if I lose.
She stands,
and I stand up and I draw my sword.
She kind of looks down, sighs. Her eyes come back to you. You know, her silvered hair, kind of glistens in the firelight, and she draws her sword and then flourishes it a bit. Does this intimidate you?
No.
All right.
I think Ophelia responds. In the past, she would have responded with a silly flourish to kind of show off a little bit, but instead, she just holds firm.
Without missing a beat, as she concludes the flourish, she reminds you that your feet are just a little too far apart. You're off balance.
Ophelia just goes, "Ugh!" and then goes in for a strike.
Yep. Yeah, and she does as well. Let's see who strikes first. So, Beatrice is essentially, she's going to be a 9. So it's going to be a difficulty 9 to hit her. Essentially, she's also a 3rd tier NPC. So I just multiplied it by 3 to figure out the level. So she's pretty hard to hit. So do you have any attractive qualities that help you?
Probably. Let me bring that up. Okay, so I think my boldness probably helps. My resourcefulness probably also helps. Because if she's trying to... I'm imagining Chef Beatrice as a very traditional kind of fighter, one who cares a lot about form, and is therefore not amazing at responding to the unpredictable. So I think my resourcefulness would come in handy here.
100%. Please don't use Wing Clipper. No.
No, oh my god! I don't hate Chef Beatrice. I think... Okay, I'm not going to mess with her head during this and use True Friend. I'll do that later. So yeah, I don't think any of my titles make a ton of sense to bring in here.
Now, do you want to spend any of your dashing or valor?
I think I'm going to spend... it's a max 3, right?
Yes.
So I think 1 valor and 2 dashing is what I'll spend on this.
Okay.
Okay, so that brings it up to a +5. Oh, let's see. Well, yeah, that's a 6 on the die. So 11.
Okay. So describe to me either the blow or the... kind of give me your goal. Do you want to hurt her, push her back, or disarm her at this point? So
I think I
hurt her but
want
not
to
beat her. Yeah.
I want to disarm her, and I think how that happens is we dance back and forth for a while, and Ophelia is holding her own more than she has in the past, but not anything incredibly different. But there's a point during the fight where Chef Beatrice notices that Ophelia has once again dropped her left arm, and she starts to almost smirk or look as if she's going to say something. And Ophelia uses that position somehow to actually whirl around and take her off guard and immediately just disarm her, and her sword goes spinning off into the forest or wherever they are.
All right.
Actually, yeah, her sword goes spinning off and it sticks like into the ground, like right next to the plate, I think, right where the Dragon Queen was.
Yeah, Beatrice looks at it, and then without looking at you, goes to blind you with the drink she had in her hand. So she tries to splash you in the face, so you're going to have to dodge out of the way. So, again, okay. It's 9. Otherwise, you're going to smell like sour grape juice. Yeah.
Okay, I think... Alright, I'm still going to use my... I'll use my resourcefulness. I don't think boldness really factors in here.
Elegance would, though.
Elegance would. Yeah, so resourcefulness and elegance for +2, and then in addition, I'm going to spend 2 dashing, I think, again. I'm using all of my points. Let's make that a +3. This isn't that big of a deal. I say, knowing full well I'm about to roll probably a 1. +3. Oh, that's cocked. Oh, no, that's a 7. So that's a 10.
All right, yeah.
So
she goes to get you, leaves herself wide open, and now you have the option how you want to submit Chef Beatrice, because she kind of goes, splashes, misses you, ends up it hits a tree, and she's left herself open, and she's just kind of like face to face to you, no weapon. She does have a spoon that she could grab, but she's like, don't be ridiculous.
Yeah, Ophelia kind of dodges out of the way, gives her a big smile, and then I think she actually just she makes a feint as if she's going to go in for an actual strike, and then stops the blade just beneath her chin. Right.
Beatrice, the look in Beatrice's eyes have never been more proud of you than this moment. And you can see fully well you fight exactly as how she dreamed for the time she trained you as a child. She's waited for this day. And she kind of leans in very slowly, and she embraces you. She rests her, aging head. And for the first time, you really kind of get a sense that Beatrice is older than you, and she's older than most of the knights. And although she fights as if she's a very young person, she has seen many years. She has weathered many winters, many storms. Her life, you feel kind of the weight of her life and the expectations that had always been placed on her to be a mentor, to train knights. But you are the knight she is most proud of. And she goes and she collects everything and pulls out a small cake for you to share.
Oh, that's very nice. Gosh, I really like the idea of just kind of close on them, just like sharing a cake in comfortable silence as the fire is like crackling behind them.
Yeah, and with that, as she collected the plates and her sword, she pointed out there's a black raven's feather. And not just any raven's feather. This belongs to Alicent of the Blade. And we managed to keep, in true anime fashion, the raven has gone that way. Dun-dun-dun. We know. And then we can close that scene. So I think the tag that you get out of this, and we can explain a little bit how this works. So we've decided now that you can burn your tags. You should really only keep 3, and then the rest of them you turn into narrative points to add to your crown, passion, and glory, and can use them to make things in the world. We can handle exactly how we want to do that for you a little later, but at this point, let's go ahead and give you the tag, Greatest Swordsman. There will come a point where Ophelia will be the greatest swordsman, perhaps. We could call it that or Master Duelist, either or. In fact, Master Duelist might work better because then you could apply it to a personal scene. So.
Oh, I like that. Okay, Master Duelist then.
All right. So who would like to take the next scene?
I would.
Yeah, let's do that. You may.
Yeah. So we've been traveling for a while. And how long was the negotiations? Was it weeks, months, that kind of stuff? And how long has that been?
It was not
super long. No, it hasn't been long. So not much time has passed. We could actually say that, and we'll put it this way. You have control to decide how much time you want to pass between the last scene and this scene, or if your scene is happening adjacent to someone else's. It's like watching a TV show. Some things happen simultaneously. Okay. So it probably hasn't.
This is happening during the negotiation scene. I think me and Donald going to this healing mountain has taken us some time, because we're going from capital to the middle land, and that's not like, you know, a day trip, especially on horses and carriage. So a lot of my recovery has been like there on the road, and most people who are going to get healed will either die on the journey or be at such a stable point that they're most likely going to heal at the place anyway, because it's the road and it's dangerous and it's filthy. But I think we've had to stop many times during camping and riding because we've been ambushed many times. And me, it's gotten to the point where me and Donald have been I've been calling out, and then I've been like using a bow as best I can, and then a sword. And we've gotten to the point where we no longer like use titles, but those are just like the first names because it's just easier. And
Donnie
quicker.
and Danny. Donnie, Danny.
Oh my god.
So
How's it going, Danny?
for me, Daniel sees Donald as a honored sword, so someone who can always speak freely to them, no matter what. And I think during the healing and stuff like that we've been in like a cabin or wherever it is in the hot springs, I'm starting to get better, but I think I go to Donald with my healing not completely finished, and I just kind of walk through and open the door.
Hot Springs episode. No,
Basically. And we just kind of see Danielle, and they are kind of like wrapped in like, you know, bandages and stuff, and we see a determined look on their face. They've completely changed. Their hair is completely like almost shaved off. Like they've used this blade to completely shave off. No longer the long pink curls, but the sides are shaved down and have like a foxhawk. And they just have like steely look now. And they just kind of come through and they just say, "We need to return to capital. I will not let the throne stay idle for this long."
That's very fortuitous because you talk in your sleep, Danny. And I got the wagons ready. And Donald kind of points. He goes, but you feel well enough to go. Look, someone's got to watch them over the night.
I think I go and I go, "Thank you, Donald. You're good." And like I think like a bit of blood kind of comes out, showing that I'm not fully healed. And I
finish.
Tuberculosis.
I got stabbed in the chest.
Yeah. So Donald comes over. Donald has prepared some tea. He's like, "Here, drink this slowly." He goes, "Why are you so quick to rush back into that den of vipers that is capital? I don't know if it's safe for you there."
We cannot let another dragon queen sit on the throne and cause chaos. The people deserve better. I must be better.
Well, how well do you know Council Lorenz? Council Lorenz being your associate from the ball. Donald speaks very freely right now. How well do you know them?
They have been my partner for a while.
I don't want to bring this up, and I didn't because you were, well, for all intents and purposes, dying. But you pulled through. You made it. It's wonderful. That's good.
Indeed it is.
They're sitting on the throne right now. And not only that, while you were unconscious, they took your hand and a pin in your hand and had your wounded body sign an order to give them power of attorney. Not only that, they told Chef Beatriz to dish out a lot of coin to some of those Raven Knights, those mercenaries, those sellswords that walk the roads. And Beatriz saw through the deceit and took to the roads with Chevorphilia. There is trouble in capital, and we are at war.
No. And they kind of like smash the table, and like the drink that I was going to drink kind of tumbles over. Why is everyone so selfish? We are already at war. Foreigners are coming. We have no allies, and we fight amongst ourselves.
Then here's what I suggest. If you're open to suggestions, you know.
Of course, my friend.
I'm a bit of a chess player, Donald says with great pride. I've been looking at the pieces moving on the board. And I think we take you back to capital. We take you in disguise. We use my smooth moves to get you access to where you need. And I think with a single look, you can get old Lorenz to skedaddle off the throne. But you're going to have another problem. But the boy, Helena's little tag along, Jolly comes for that throne. What do you feel about them taking it?
They do not have the right. If we are speaking plainly, some time ago, in the last year, my house found documents. My lineage is of an old blood, and I am the heir apparent. I will not allow corruption to sit on the throne anymore. I am the true crown. I will be just and I will be honorable.
Donald says, then let's get you to that throne. When that kid comes, we're going to let him know that you're the heir apparent. I have suspicions that kid knows that maybe that throne ain't his to take anyways. All right. Vamos, he says. And
I think I grab Donald's shoulder before you leave and I just say, if I don't make it, everyone listens to you. You must get them to sign some kind of treaty with a foreign power. We cannot be an island filled with enemies. We need someone, or we will be alone.
Well, there is someone we can call upon. The Old Alliance to the east. So geographically, we've established a couple things. The Lunar Republic is to the north. The Solar Empire is to the south. The Emerald West is a land with West folk. We have not established anything to the east. So I'm going to add a little fiction weaving here. So fiction weaving is a mechanic in the game where players can introduce things that we feel are important. And I'm going to add the Old Alliance with the East. And we can decide exactly who they are when we get there. This is going to be a 5-point crown. So this is very, very political. But we would have to get to the East in order to do that. So we know that there are these Eastern folk and the type of people they are. Go ahead.
Is that where her Star of the Skies, the Antillier, traveled during her absence? Her old tag before she left was she had an ally with foreign power.
Yes, 100%. And no, you know what? That's exactly where she was at with the Lost Ones. She was trying to find a new home for them. And it turns out that most definitely the Lost Ones, which we will call, we'll call it the Golden East. Or we will call it the Eternal East, either or. It's synonymous. Donald reveals that little bit of information. Oh yeah, there is an Old Alliance. Donald looks at you. He goes, should we go there and then return to capital, or should we go straight to the throne? He's given this new revelation. He wants you to decide: retake the throne or muster our alliance.
The people must come first.
And Donald... No, go ahead.
I was going to say, I said the people should come first. We should go to the throne.
Donald nods, escorts you, and he's like, aye, my laird. And with that, I think we're good to close the scene. So yeah, that was a good scene. We learned some things there. There is an alliance to the east. Donald apparently loves you. Donald's like me. Donald loves everyone. Oh, yes. I love Donald. Making tea, prepping wagons. What a good boy. He was. Poisel, you have a scene and some ideas now. Let's talk about it. In between scenes, if we want to spend some of our points to add things to the fiction to enrich it, we can do that. And you most certainly can call the next scene Poisel. You can, just to clarify too, you can build scenes that don't even involve your character. Maybe you want to see two other players play something out. Fair is fair.
So before this scene, I have more than 4 tags. So I'm going to burn one of them going into the scene. I have the tag Truth Seeker. And I would like to, in the past, Antimony is well read and educated. Antimony knows of these ancient treaties with the East, maybe?
Yes. You would have learned about them in the Intramuros, we can say, or during your wanderings.
So I'll burn Truth Seeker to add whatever narrative points that will develop into to enhance the treaty. Within the fictional element of it, to put more points into it.
You can put it into Crown, or any of the other ones. It depends. It all depends on how you perceived.
How much is Truth Seeker worth for
that? 3 points. So when you burn a tag, it becomes 3 points that you can assign however you would like.
Okay, I'm going to put 1 more into Crown, and 2 of it into glory. There is much glory to be found in the Eternal East, and the treaty there has led to glory for both nations.
I dig it. So that comes into effect immediately.
And so with that basis, I would like to call the next scene up on a kind of a newly built battlement in the Goldenwood up in Norfell. And Antimony is on this battlement looking out over the preparations that they have been helping to organize for the defense of the incoming Lunar Empire. Building defensive structures, building newly devised defensive, like trebuchet kind of works that have designed out of the Intramuros. And up there, they are looking out over the work with Sir Catalin and with Julian, the Boy King, and whoever else might be present.
Christina can be there, tagging along, and Sir Helena.
Yeah,
so if you're not there, so if you're not there, like say Sir Danielle and Chev Orphelia aren't there, you can take control of some of these other NPCs. So there's Sir Helena, the Perfect Knight, Jolyon, the Boy King, and Christina DeLion, of House Lion. She a little lion, and she's plucky.
She's
Trouble.
Away from Zertrese.
of Treese.
I promised you, Zertrese said, go help them build armaments and defend and fortify. I order you to. Christine was like, awesome! I love a job! And ran off.
That's fair.
Hey, wait a second. It's like, you know how sometimes you can fake throw a ball and a dog will go running? That's Zertrese. Go catch! Christina whew, takes off.
Oh, sweet bean.
Yeah. Checks out. So
what sort of question do you want to answer in the scene?
The goal of this scene is Antimony wants to propose that a contingent, including the boy King Jolien, departs here secretly to go to the east to find allies, while Antimony stays to help organize the defense of the Goldenwood.
That works. So, yeah, so let's talk about it. Describe the sort of setting, the overall mood of the location, and then let's get into this. Let's make it happen.
It is midday, but it is slightly chilly. It is not. It's a little overcast, and there are heavy clouds on the horizon out over the sea, in which you can see the oncoming armada of the Lunar Empire out in the distance as they make their own preparations out at sea. You can see from the battlement, you can see people, wolves, working and building these new weapons of war and building these defensive armaments. And Antimony stands at a work table up on the battlement with a number of plans and maps laid out. And they say, well, I think the preparations are moving at a swift pace. The wolf carpenters are very skilled. They picked up the designs quickly.
So, go ahead.
I fear that we will not be able to hold. We will be able to hold the line for some time here, but not indefinitely.
Christina's arms are folded. Like me, she's chewing gum, kind of looking left and right. And she's just like, so, what are we going to do when we can't hold any longer?
Well,
if nobody minds me talking, she kind of looks over at the two wolf knights, Sir Cataline and Sir Helena.
Well, in my time in the Intramuros, I say with a nod to Jolien, and my time with her Star of the Skies, I know that there are some old alliances with the East that we may be able to call on. But last I heard, before her disappearance, the Nightingale was set to venture there. And I think perhaps another representative of House Estelle might be able to jar those alliances, bring them back into an act of strength.
Jolly speaks up. So I am to journey to the east.
Covertly, at first. We do not want the Lunar Empire to find you.
How shall I travel there?
Well, Sir Helena, you have guarded Jolly before. Or perhaps, Sir Kathleen, you might wish to travel on this endeavor. I would go with you, Jolly, but I don't know how well this defense would hold if I did not keep them directed here.
Jolly looks at Sir Cataline. You, as captain of the knights, what do you suggest? I have a hard time leaving my people. I'm willing to fight alongside them. I don't think I should run like a coward. However, I think in order for my people to accept me as sovereign, perhaps I need to liberate them with the alliance coming from the east. What do you say, Sir Cataline?
While I appreciate your desire to be courageous, I find it ill-advised to stay here when this is not what you are trained for. Given your studies, I am confident in your diplomacy abilities, and your efforts, in my humble opinion, would be best sought to travel east.
Sir Cataline always speaks the truth, says Jolly and nods. She is wise, and I accept that. But who shall I travel with?
Visibly twitching with every word he says.
Hey, Jolly! Your eyes doing that thing, Sir Cataline. Speak frankly. Speak openly.
No. It's been a long day, and my eyes are weary. It's nothing. Don't worry.
Sir Cataline's eyes don't get weary. You're dodging and deflecting. Like, Jolly is very bold.
Yeah. Do not seek to overcompensate your age with wit.
Little trouble with your girlfriend? And Jolly looks over at Sarah Helena, kind of smirks.
Oh, this little shit.
With that, Jolly goes. It's just like how Pro's not blinking at all, just kind of like sips the tea.
Explain to me, Jolly, what exactly is your rights to the crown, aside from being the brother of Lady of the Stars?
Well, there's several rights. The first is the legal right. And Jolly begins to break down this long, boring dissertation. You can tell Jolly's like if you're standing in line to buy something at either a Ren fair, like you want to buy a wooden sword, and then suddenly that dude shows up behind you and says, so you're into swords? And the next thing you do, you wait for like Marcy Vallon or someone to rescue you. Or you're at an anime convention. It's like, I really like your cosplay. Wow. You must really like maids to wear that outfit. I like the yellow color, but I think you should be wearing it. So Jolly's like turned into this thing. So he starts talking about the legal right of House Eagle to determine who sits on the throne. The second he breaks down his genealogy and he recites without blinking, his eyes just kind of go dead, almost as if you could read teleprompters in them, where he recites his genealogy back 14 generations. And the third he goes, and the third is, if anyone tries fighting me for it, I'm confident I could take the throne through force if I have to.
Oh, yes. Great. That's admirable.
Do you doubt me?
No. I'm sure you have a mighty force behind that height.
Oh, it's not might. You see, the real power comes from speed. And he pulls out a small little pocket knife. He goes, observe.
Yes.
And he just kind of does these kind of like elementary thrusts in a circle.
I imagine him doing like sleight of hand magic tricks, like, oh, here, it's over here.
Don't you know I'm loco?
I was imagining like a full-on like 15-year-old like Naruto fan kind of like, yeah, I totally know how to use.
Charlie absolutely runs with his hands behind his back.
Yeah.
God.
Now I'm trying to
Yeah, it's the
derail
only
this.
way to travel.
With dramatic music.
So, Cataline, why? I would prefer you to accompany me on that voyage, though I think the wolves would benefit from having you here in the initial defense. I mean, really, it's your call. I'd like you to take charge of this operation. You can kind of tell there was a little snark. He probably has like a little boy crush on you. But he also probably has a little boy crush on Antimony. He probably has a little boy crush on Orphelia and everybody, right? He just doesn't know yet.
I'm at this point twice his age, and I'm just so done with him. Yes. You need the best of them to travel to the east. I appreciate that. But given the newfound religious freedoms the wolves now have acquired, as well as, you're right, there is much to prepare in the defenses here. I don't find my particular line of assets best used along your side.
Sir, Kathleen.
Oh, jeez.
Can I speak with you for a moment? And I'll try to like step aside with Sir Kathleen to have like a moment to speak with them.
You're allowed. Meanwhile, Jolly goes back to thrusting in a circle.
With a knife.
Yeah.
Okay.
Switch.
I know that the boy is brash.
Absolutely infuriating.
Yes. But he needs a strong hand to guide him.
I'll show
And I
him
trust-
a strong hand.
I trust that you will. And I trust you. I trust you to give him an education, to guide him, to make sure that he lives up to his family's duty and his family's honor. He is of House Estelle. We know. Can you imagine how her Stars of the Sky was when she was a teenager? What brashness she might have had?
Absolutely. Equally insufferable. Yes.
Yes. But somebody guided her.
Cheventimony, I respect your cool-headed logic, and I thank you for your compliments to me. I think you underestimate how much of a shithead he is.
I understand. But you are the best of us all. You are the captain.
Why must I bear this burden?
I think had things gone differently. No. But you are who I trust the most here. To guide him, to keep him safe, to do what needs to be done in these negotiations.
Okay, I get that.
This is not the first time I have defended Wolflands. It won't be the last.
you see a brief glint of, oh, we're pulling that card, are we? Before she regains composure. Okay. Let me ask you this, Antimony. How do we know this jolly fellow is the right king? What's stopping us from allowing Sir Danielle to continue out with the rightful heir position?
He's the king we have. He is, through legal rights, to be king. And
do you see him though? Did you see him? Like, look at this?
He is young.
You see, yeah. So currently, you see Jolly and Christina. There's an intense knife throwing contest. Christina, despite her pluckiness, seems like a crack shot. It seems like she has extremely high competency when it comes to games of chance, skill, throwing with accuracy. Most likely, there's a reason why Sir Triest keeps her around. So,
let me ask you this: if, say, we had come here for these negotiations, these few months ago, and it were Sir Daniel that had come here instead of Jolly, how do you think that would have gone? Do you think we would have walked away united again without bloodshed?
Cataline stares off wistfully, a little wantonly. I suppose the thorns were not right for the situation.
And ultimately, this is not a question of who will sit on the throne in the future. It is who we send now to represent the throne.
She has a wolfish grin. Okay. I see. Yeah, we're on the same wavelength. I get it now. I will make this trek. I will protect the idiot with my life. And I will guarantee his life safety. Mostly because I'm curious about the East. As far as I've traveled, I haven't traveled there yet, so might as well.
So am I. I wish I could go with you.
Yeah, you're better.
So question. Mm-hmm. You're going to have a choice. Mm-hmm. This is going to impact how the defenses hold.
I'm bringing Helena.
Okay. The defenses will not hold. The choice was going to be Helena or Christina.
Yeah.
You could actually take Christina. You would travel faster, and Helena would stay behind, and the defenses will hold longer because the perfect knight stayed behind. The champion, the one who won the duel.
I would ask.
What's that?
That's why I asked you to go instead of Helena.
Well, I was going to say, yeah, yeah, but you can take Helena. And it's fine. But if you take Christina...
Yes, there is I think Cataline has a very blind spot. That she's now conscious of a thing with Helena, but not quite ready to embrace it. So you know what? Her first thoughts would go to Helena, and then she realizes her duties, and there needs to be balance.
And you know Helena gives you that look. You know that look. It's the same look she gave you when you were healing up in the tent. After she collapsed in your arms and you carried her off.
Indeed.
And
Helena won the duel, but then collapsed in exhaustion.
And you and Christina can play good mom, bad mom for Julian.
Yes. Also, Kathleen is intrigued because if Christina is there, there's a chance Raven will be nearby eventually. So
Showing up in the east. The phantom they are.
Okay.
So, question. Have we answered the question that we posed for the scene? And if we're not too sure what that question is, we can come up with it. But it sounds like Sarah Cataline, Jolly, and Christina are going to journey to the east as a group. And they are going to call upon the Old Alliance.
We're splitting the party all over the place now.
That's what happens in the best novels. And that's why at any point, any player can assume the role of any NPC or introduce them and inject them into the fiction. Right. So Christina kind of looks and finds out and like just looks at Sir Cataline. And this is like the split age difference. There's Sir Cataline, college senior. Then there's Christina, who's like a high school senior. Then there's Jolly, who just got out of middle school.
I think Jolly's like a freshman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like an episode of Freaks and Geeks now. Here we go. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is good stuff.
Yes.
Oh, it's such good stuff.
Such a good show.
All right. And so with that, I think a tag's in order. So here's an option. Do we want to give a tag to a player, or do we want to create a new fictional element? So I'm going to give us the choice because we haven't had the opportunity. There are no die rolls. There was nothing. Do we want to weave something into the fiction there? Or build up anything else? We can add anything, an idea. Like you could add, like, there's a plague in the east that has to be overcome, or there's a treacherous pass that they will have to cross in order to get there, or maybe there's a hostile NPC. You could even establish who exactly it is in the east they're going to talk to. That's the power of fiction weaving. You get to create characters and things of that nature.
Clearly, we're talking to a very laudable knight called Kika of the East.
Kika of the East.
Yes.
I'm totally willing to spend narrative points to make that happen because it was already declared in chat.
Okay. I was going to recommend, remember as we introduce things, the thrust of the fiction, I love Kika, but we're going to have to follow that naming scheme to the east, and you know what? I'm here for it. So let's do that. Kika, her cousin Kiko, and her father Kikai, her mother Kikama.
Oh my gosh. It's beautiful. Okay, so like narrative points wise, I have too many tags, so I will expend the matriarch tag. Oh, Farkas. Farkas is traveling with me. Bless the good puppy. He'll keep my sanity. Yes, I'm being so motherly and beautiful in bringing Jolly to the east. So.
Okay.
Done.
So we'll do that. So we're going to add... so to start, as we introduce this new NPC, Kika, Kika the East, start with 1 point in crown, 1 point in passion, 1 point in glory. Does anyone want to spend any other points to add to her character? And that we can do. And I'll sort of explain how these works. The reason we add to it is it determines what I call the weight of the thing. Kika's importance as a character in the world. So an NPC with 3 more points in passion than Kika is kind of viewed at more favorably by the populace. Things that have higher crown points are viewed as more important politically, etc. And then the total score is how often knights gravitate towards these things. So, you know, if there's like a NPC with a good example is Anna, the Wolf Bride of Atropos, governess of the Goldenwood, the lineal princess, is a single point of passion. people are more likely to love Anna than an NPC that has no passion points. So let's decide. Do we want to add any narrative points? If not, it's fine. We'll move on.
Yeah. Well, do I get a? Does a tag come out of this scene from the one I called, or no?
I think so. How would you like to handle it? Do you want to give a tag to another character or yourself? Because I'm here for it if you do.
I was just like, if I get another tag, that's something I can expend. It fits.
I'm going to give you the tag War Master.
What was that?
I'm giving you the tag War Master.
Ooh, okay. I am going to, let me see. I'm definitely going to put 1 point of my own crown towards it.
Mm-hmm.
Just because it's more political power.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I'm gonna let if anybody else wants to influence it. Because I know other people.
Yeah, I want to add that Chica herself is separate from the Alliance, so we'll add her own political power as well, which means if Kika speaks for you in court or talks to another leader for your behalf or bestows a title to you, I mean, you're going to come out with like special knight titles that are proprietary to the East out of this. Like Sir Cataline's going to have like this awesome medallion that they've given her or something like that. Useful. This is where it's like we're getting all the aesthetic improvements to our characters in a video game. It's like, all right, got to put the right outfit on them. Got to make sure I look good.
I'm fine from where it is for now.
All right, that's good. All right, so that will.
Ophelia.
Sorry, what was that again?
I said, oh, what about you?
Sorry, I shook my head. I think I'm good with where it is also.
I think I will. She has two crown, 1 passion, 1 glory right now. Like in comparison, the royal treasury is like 2 crown, 3 passion, 3 glory. The alliance itself is 6 crown and 2 glory.
I'm willing to chuck a point of my own passion towards Kika's passion.
Okay, let's do that then. So her passion goes up to 2. And what this means is her passion score is higher than Anna the Wolf Bride, so there are simply more admirers, more smooches, more tension. Knights are more likely to pursue Kika or write letters to Kika than others.
Oh yes.
Fan service. We love you. We're married. Wolf Bride.
We love you.
What about me? I'm the Wolf Bride.
All right. Yeah, the Wolf Bride gets jealous. Same dress. That was a playtest. Same dress. The princess and one of the knights. How dare you? It was fun.
IRL Kika wants more passion points for Game Kika.
People gotta donate for that. Points for Kika.
Points for Kika. Well, I want to give points to Kika.
She has the most. She's the most passionate NPC right now. So that's important to know.
I'll give her 1 more.
All right, let's do that. There we go. None of that, but I'm poor, Kika. You got to solicit other people in chat. Don't take it upon yourself. We know you're passionate. Tell all these bourgeoisie to donate for you. Points for Kika. Come on. We got Kika is now the most passionate NPC in the world. So there you have it.
Even beyond Donald's.
Donald's scores aren't public. They're private. Isn't that right there, Danielle?
Drama.
Points for Kika. Yeah, that's a hashtag. It's trending. All right. So the next scene, Sir Cataline, you haven't set a scene yet.
This is true. I am torn. I do have questions in terms of the wolves exploring their religion with tax freedom and all that, but at the same time, I want to be able to check up on Sir Danielle. So
Let's do that.
yeah.
So let's talk about that. What question you have that you want answered in a scene with Sir Danielle?
I want hard heckin' answers. Why should I support Sarah Danielle over this numbskull of a tiny little dweeb?
When are you seeing Sir Danielle, though?
That's a good.
She might not see him, but this is very good. So the question is, meta-wise, right? We as players know everything. Our characters don't, and that's cool because we can decide how we want to introduce knowledge to our characters. But the real question is, and it's kind of similar to the one we asked in the very first scene. The question we're answering is, why should the knights swear allegiance to Sir Danielle? So this is a good opportunity for Sir Danielle to have a scene to prove why they should support them.
Mm-hmm. And this could have been like before you left, right? Before the assassination.
Mm-hmm.
Like a flashback.
This can be, so the stakes are going to be the support of the knights. So I almost think, and feel free to interject, Sir Cataline, because it's your scene. This is probably Sir Danielle has returned to the people with this awesome new haircut, a Donald bride following them around, carrying him on a litter, riding his back. He walks on all fours like an elephant, and you ride in a little cart. No, sorry.
Get the Patreon to get the hot tub scene.
Patreon.com/GrantArgos. So we see the scene. Danielle's returned. Cataline, help us set this. So is this a scene you want to see where Danielle interacts with someone personally, or with, like, say, a large group of knights, maybe a large group of officers of the court, politicians, etc.? Or do you want it more of a one-on-one scene with someone of importance?
I'm looking for an intimate and more honest scene. So I feel like a larger crowd might be more impactful, but not as sincere. So I'm thinking a one-on-one with someone fairly important.
So do you want it to be someone important from the church? Do you want it to be your old boyfriend, the Bishop Ambrose? No.
Oh, God. We
haven't little soft boy.
Ambrose in a while. Yeah. I'd be willing to see Ambrose come back. The soft.
Yeah, we'll bring him in. Old soft bishop. He's there. And he's allowed Sir Danielle to stay in his home, perhaps. And this is where Danielle and Donald are plotting and scheming. They're looking through their windows with binoculars at the castle. They're planning their return. And there's a quiet interaction with this man of the faith. So the foreground's going to be this conversation. What are the conflicts of this scene? So the outside forces are essentially, capital's kind of in turmoil. There's questions about who should be sitting on the throne. And what's sort of the inner conflict?
I have rumors of the war in the north reached the capital as well.
Yeah. The war has arisen. So, and right now, maybe there's questions. Council Lorenz is sitting on the throne. Council Lorenz has never even seen a war, really. Council Lorenz doesn't know what war is. Council Lorenz has never commanded a military. Not only that, Council Lorenz does not have the support of the knights. Knights, go fight! And they just... We will when we're told to. But I told you to. We don't know who you are. They kind of snub Lorenz. They're looking for a true leader. They don't respect them. So there's sort of this outside conflict. Is there any internal conflict in this conversation that's going to be had with Sir Danielle and the Bishop Ambrose?
I feel like Bishop Ambrose, even though a soft boy he might be, is a little wary of just how illustrious the Laird Danielle's title has become, and maybe questioning the strength of their faith, perhaps.
We're going to test your scripture mastery. Here we go. No,
especially since the Freedom of Religion Act.
Oh, which, confidentially, between you and me, Ambrose supports. I'm like, let them believe what they want. I spent a lot of time out there with them wolves. Their beliefs kind of make a lot of sense if you look at it. After all, it's all just heuristics anyways. Went on. So we set the scene. Is there anyone else there? Are there any people that tend to the house? Anyone that might be there besides Donald? And you have a choice too. Maybe another one of the players can play the Bishop Ambrose as well if you want. We're all playing the same game. It doesn't have to be me. It can if you would like.
I would like to leave it to Sarah Danielle to set their household situation. Butlers.
Well, we're in Ambrose's house, so I think it's very modest. Probably their partner is there.
So they haven't taken a partner since they met a certain knight that ghosted them.
Spicy.
She had places to be. Although you see, there's a stack of letters he was too shy to send.
Oh.
Still write him.
You're a heartbreaker.
New tag.
Ambrose, passion, 9. No.
Infinite.
Yeah.
Who's gonna play Ambrose?
I can play them. So Donald's on watch. It's a quiet scene with the bishop and Sarah Danielle. And it's in the home of Ambrose. We're actually going to say it's fairly early in the day. It's a dark day. It's raining, as it often does in Capital. And I imagine Danielle's like wearing this illustrious robe, rings on every finger.
That's not how Daniel's been.
I know. Sunglasses indoors. Just like straight up bad boy.
Great.
Just like.
And just clarification, the pronouns I'll update them.
Yes, sorry.
This for a thing. And I think Daniel is wearing, because they're supposed to be in disguise, so I think they're just wearing like over their armor, just like very baggy kind of clothes to kind of like disguise what they're wearing. The crown is off, probably in a bag. And I think you startle them, Kathleen, most likely, because they probably don't know that you were coming.
Oh, Kathleen might not necessarily be there. Kathleen might be traveling to the east, so she set the scene. The scene is for you to play out. Okay. Ambrose kind of looks at you with a pained expression and says, Laird Danielle, it's a Tuesday, and do you know what that means in the Church of the Sun? Ambrose asks openly.
Yes, it is the second day of the rising.
And what ritual do we perform on the second day of the rising?
We bathe in the glow of the noon, wash ourselves in the glow of light.
And the way we do that is through confessions, Daniel. All right, Donald, out of the room. He snaps his fingers, and Donald just kind of like slides, no movement, out of the room. What has been weighing you down, Danielle? You can speak openly. I'm not like the priests in Capital. I'm a rural priest. I live with the common folk. We don't need to make this into something. It's not that there's any sins, but you are weighted in your life.
I have come to notice many things, and I have lost those dear to me. And I have noticed the deep corruption within our lands, and the wars that always seem to weigh. We are beset on all sides by foreigners. No one wants to agree that the necessity of gaining alliance on the outside, to have a truce, a treaty, one must give to get. But everyone wants their own, and everybody wants everything in return.
Well, when you say everyone, are you speaking hyperbolically, or are you actually? Is it actually everyone?
You have the dragons who think of nothing but gold, and tax, manipulation.
Shev Antimony was a dragon. They spoke of other things than gold. And you notice how Ambrose is trying to help you individualize the people that you've met. And Ambrose is trying to help you see people as people and individuals and not necessarily broad groups, which is very hard for knights to do. We've been conditioned to see them as a collective as opposed to individuals. That's why we labeled them in houses, put them in hierarchies.
Antimony, they are the worst. I fear that I've truly not known them anymore. I fear that they're a snake. So strange it is that they were able to best the Dragon Queen when Ophelia, a known knight of arms, I fought alongside her, was cut down. But Antimony, I've never seen them hold a blade in such dire constraints, but was able to cut down this individual so swiftly. And now they want to help this new king, I'm guessing. So quickly they are to be the neutral party to a king.
Well, Ambrose pauses for a moment and asks you, what sort of sovereign would you be?
The ones where I would not hold dinners to discuss why we should avoid our taxes. Ones where I would give back to the people. The church has always helped the people. I was brought up to believe that. Those of faith and those who need it.
You used to be called the Rose Knight. When did you grow the thorns?
When we saved you.
I remember. What changed about you that day? Who was she, and what did she mean to you? He's discerned that Rose, your sibling, meant a lot. And you haven't had the opportunity to talk about it yet.
She was my little sister, but only a few years. I trained with her, taught her everything I knew. I aspired to be great because I wanted to honor my house and my family. She only wished to help me and aspire to be like me. I told her that everything I did would be for her, and she would train under me, and I would take up the moniker in her name so that I always act with pure eyes and a caring heart. I do not know why she was led astray.
She was led astray because we did not have a just sovereign sitting on the throne. She was led astray because your people were not treated with dignity. She was led astray because we put people into positions and we don't allow them to stratify, to rise, to chase and pursue their dreams. And she was led astray because someone offered her something else and she used the opportunity to ascend. It may be a hard thing to hear, but it is what happened.
But if she had simply come to me, I would have been happy with anything she had done. Happiness is supposed to be the goal. We live in the light of our Lord so that their embrace can fill us with joy.
But she didn't. Ambrose speaks very frankly and honestly. And she fell to Orphelia's blade. How are you feeling towards Orphelia? Do you hold any ill will towards her?
For a long time, I wanted to kill Orphelia. Call her out in a duel. Honor demanded it. My honor, what I was brought up to believing. But she was just in what she did. And so I fought with myself, a war within myself, to honor my family and my house, but to honor what was just and what was right.
Do you forgive her 100%?
Yes.
Then you are fit to rule this land. And Ambrose turns to a cabinet, and you see the true crown. It's beautiful, jeweled. It's radiant like the sun, and the sun has hit kind of midday now and has shone through the window, kind of in this omnidirectional light, glistening. This crown belonged to the old king. And then it belonged to his wife when he died. And then it belonged to their child, and it was passed down through the generations. Become the Laird of Hearts, and they place the crown on your head. The throne is yours to take, and the knights will follow you. Because you know what it means to forgive.
I think I hold it and I say, you know, the dance that we had before, I was going to confess everything to Ophelia, but I did not have the chance. Do you think we should have an all-encompassing voice in the land? One who demands all but has no repercussions?
We already do. And he turns and looks at a religious mural painted on his wall. You know, he's a man of the church. He's like, look, there's a divine power, be it a god or many gods or the ancient tribes or the religion of the East. There's a power, and it's up to us to decide what that means to us. And that is what must rule. And you're going to have to find it within yourself to manifest that voice within you. He pushes his glasses up.
And then as my first duty as a ruler, I demand and ask that you sit on a council that oversees a decision that I may have.
You know, weird, you know, anime sparkles, harp sounds, and yeah. Going, yes. Ambrose is like, if you will it, my laird, my sovereign. And with that, I think we're good to close the scene. It's yeah. So let's talk about that. So I'm going to pass the tag on to you. The ancient crown. So you have you essentially have the sign of the right of secession. So this is the lineal crown. If whatever genealogy there was, this traces back to the original ruler. That may not mean that you are the direct descendant. However, you know, possession is 9/10 of the law. People see that, they will follow it.
My lair of hearts, that scene was more than I could hope for.
And with that, Chev Orphelia gets to set a scene. It's been a long time since we've heard from you, and I hope that you've been doing okay. And that.
Oh yeah, no, I've been totally good. Gosh, sorry, I thought we were going like in order here, so I wasn't thinking it was my time to set a scene yet, so I'm not super ready.
I actually think it is. I actually think it's come back around, but I can set a scene in the meanwhile. Here's why it wouldn't be your turn. Because Joe's not here, so I set scenes. So, So, this next scene is going to be a different kind of scene. This is going to be a societal scene. This is going to be a scene where it's not so much about our characters, rather than it is about large, powerful forces that are in a conflict. This is going to be the Battle of Norfell. So there's two sides, and this is the conflict. The Lunar Republic is invading, and the defenses, although they may not hold forever, there's a chance that they do. The difficulty to make sure that they hold is... it looks like it's 12s across the board. So it's going to be a very intense front. The foreground, rather than being personal conversations, is war itself. These are the action scenes. These are, you know, if we're watching like a classic episode of Macross or something like that, these are, you know, the mechas are flying and, you know, there's explosions. And we get to decide. So we get to put some stakes out there. And the stakes are... does Norfell hold the invasion back, or does all of Norfell fall under the might of the invading force? So they're either going to be crushed completely, or they're going to hold. And the question we want to answer is essentially very similar. It's really going to be how ingenious were Antimene's defenses. So this lets us really play up creatively how the wolves, their dragon mastermind, the other knights that were there, Sarah Helena, the perfect knight, how they really played it up. And so we're each going to get to add to this. So the first thing that we had to do is we had to hold back the ships. I imagine that the first thing that happened is members of House Wolf, there's a special order. They're known as, they're essentially known as the Greyfurs. They're the oldest, they are the eldest. They have fought many wars, they've weathered many winters. They all get into small vessels and sail out to the ships, set their small vessels on fire, and latch on and climb up the sides of the ship and go hand to hand. And it's an intense combat where these graybacks or these Greyfurs a fight. So they went out and they sailed and they set their vessels on fire. However, based on my die rolls, as they got to the top of the vessels and they boarded, they did not last long. And though they were skilled, trained, and fierce, the incoming force is far more dangerous and far more dire. There's something even more ferocious about the impending invasion. perhaps their elite force is better. So I had to beat a 12. I have my own narrative pool over here, my own action pool. I spent 3 points. I only rolled a 2 though, and so they've done this. So as a result of this, I'm going to add something negative to the fiction weaving because I feel it's appropriate, and I'm going to call them. They are the. I want to have like a very dire word. So they're either going to be they're the Ebon Fire Army. That's kind of cheesy. They're also known as the Whoa Brigade. Whoa! And they have a glory of 5, we'll say. So they are a very, very fearsome fighting force that are intent on smashing the wolves. So we failed one. Poisel, what's something else ingenious that you designed to prevent this army from smashing? You're muted. Or my audio's out.
No, it was me. I forgot I muted while I was having some chips. So what Antimony would have prepared, or one of their designs, is with the building up like the catapults and trebuchet, kind of the defensive structures, was figuring out the range on those, where they would be hitting upon the beach, and then building breaks upon the beach that kept the army from being able to move up the beach quickly. So that would slow any approach upon the beachhead, so that they had to spend more time within the area of fire. And then working the beach and like making it so that there are trenches, like pitfalls within the beach and things like that, that makes that essentially the very hard to get past, so that you can't get closer very easily without suffering grave casualties.
Okay. So the difficulty is 12 to hold them back. Now you can use any tags or legendary qualities you have. I apologize, my eye is messing with me. And you can also spend any points of cerebration, or if you feel another pool, as well as your attractive qualities.
Yes. Well, I am educated and have the discipline to help design this for attractive qualities. I'm going to expend my Brilliant Strategist tag for this.
That'll give you 3.
And I'm going to also put some points from, spend 3 points from my Cerebration.
Okay.
This is all mental. So that gives me 7 total towards this.
All right.
So that is a 5 on the die.
You make it.
Exactly.
So here's sort of the way it works. Each one of us is going to get to narrate kind of a challenge or something that we want or something we want to see in the combat, and then it's going to come down to a roll. And we're essentially doing more successes means we succeed, less successes means we fail. And if it's a tie, we'll do a tiebreaker scene. So yeah, that's a success. You know, you can sort of see the frustration. They're just like swearing, and they're taking heavy casualties. However, on one of the vessels, there is a knight in black armor that is unfazed, even as the bombardment lands beside them, and they are approaching. They are a nemesis. What's something you'd like to see in this battle, as extra as you want to make it?
Okay. Well, funnily enough, I was gonna say that they have some sort of really scary champion to face off with our perfect knight here. So what I want to see is a full-on Sir Helena versus scary obsidian armor knight. Unlike at the top of the battlements, just a very vicious back and forth.
Oh, that's totally what's happening. Yeah. So Sarah Helena's up there. Sarah Helena's essentially going to count as a legendary quality. Also remember, I think there's a special tag that if Sarah Helena's ever by Sarah Cataline gets a bonus. I forgot about that. We broke up the family.
Oh no!
Helena dies here. So essentially the stake for this mini scene is Helena. She may not die. We will allow you to narrate the failure. You know, she might escape just like wounded or damaged. So yeah, there are two masters. There's the large, imposing champion. Sarah Helena's, silver armor flashes in the setting sun as she draws her blade. I imagine that there were some of the older wolves. In fact, they weren't even warriors. They were more like the engineers that had designed sort of the weapons. And they sort of look, and the champion's luring down upon them, and then, just descending perfectly. Sarah Helena catches the blade and defends them. Back, you fiend! And they battle. So you're allowed to spend points from your pool, Orphelia. You can reset them to full for the purpose of this. And then, let's see what happens. So,
okay.
All
right. So I'm imagining.
Oh, never mind.
No,
we'll see. We'll see. That may come into.
Is this nemesis? Is it? No, it's part of the Lunar Empire. It's not a raven. I was mistaking the black armor with
unless they hired ravens.
All right. Well, who wants to be related to this one then? I guess. It's apparently my job to murder every single family member by accident that we have. So, okay. All right. So going back to what to spend on this, I think definitely spending a whole bunch of valor and probably some dashing. Because I'm imagining this knight, whoever they are. Is like us. Like, I don't think Sir Helena was like a particularly small individual, but I'm imagining this nemesis as significantly taller, like ridiculously tall, like unnaturally tall.
We actually we described Sir Helena originally as smaller, smaller frame, more petite, leaner, yet is exceptionally fierce. There's definitely a mountain of an individual. This is like Ganon final form, from pink face and everything. I think they have like a tiger mask on or something like that. Like there's some sort of like animal or creature. There's something about it, or a griffin helm or something like that. Figure it out.
The mountain and the viper, and I was like, I hope it doesn't end the same way for the viper.
Oh God, no!
So with this, you can only spend points from one pool. So let's yeah. So all right, and then roll a 10-sided die. If you get a 3, you win.
Are you using any of your legendary qualities?
Sarah Helena is the legendary quality and cut the difficulty in half.
Oh,
okay.
Awesome.
Oh, so that's why it's only 3. Okay.
Yes, you could do it.
Okay, come on. Okay, that's a 4.
Woo! And it's one of these things where this champion, who is essentially has Helena at their mercy. Helena's been knocked down. She's recovering from a deadly duel that she had with Sarah Cataline not long before then. Her wounds have reopened. She's, blood has run down her brow. She's dirty. Her sword has been knocked from her. And you hear the sword hit. And it's not that the sword was knocked from her. She chucked it because there is an armament that had been prepared that launches catapults, and Boulder just lands and smashes that champion. And she aimed it perfectly. And there was much rejoicing. Cut back to the ship. There are multiple champions. And the one on the ship is much smaller than that one. And at seeing that, is considering calling off the invasion. Because they are taking great losses. They think they might need to return with a larger force or hit the land royal from a different position that's not so well fortified. However, a voice, an unseen voice, says, "Press onward, destroy them." Pro Restarter, what's the next challenge that we have? We're currently 2-1 in our total points.
Okay. So I think what's happening is that the ones that have docked are currently like the enemy that's docked. They're currently running through the forest, and they're on their battlements. They're heavily armored and they're running through. But I think what's unique about the Wolf House is that there aren't just like the standard knights. It's that they learn to live and fight in the terrain. So I think we have full guerrilla tactics where these warriors, they don't wear armor, they wear nothing but like animal pelts, and they're like abseiling down from the trees, like coming out from the dirt. They have like spike traps, and they're just like the savage savage ravagers, and they're just like going ham.
If you recall, the Blood Wolf army was trained by Ser Helena and Ser Cataline, and they are full-on guerrilla. You know, they are the most dangerous, one of the most dangerous military forces in the world right now.
Yeah,
so the difficulty is going to be 12. So you can spend any points from your pools, and you might have a legendary quality that applies.
And what's the legendary quality that I can use?
Anything from your personal Ser Danielle pool that you want to get rid of. That would apply to the situation. Yeah, your tags.
Yeah. So since we're using the Blood Wolves, and I fought alongside them as well, I think I'm going to expend an attack Peacemaker, because this war is just like the war they fought back then, and they use those unexpected tactics.
Mm-hmm. I like that. This is in order to obtain peace, you must prepare for war. So that'll add 3 to your die roll, and then you can spend any points from your pool. Dashing.
I'm going to spend 3 points from dashing, because these are unnaturally quick. They don't wear like heavy armor; they just wear like thick pelts. So the enemy's not really used to it. So they're good at ducking and diving.
Got it. So that will add 3 more. So you need a 6 or higher on a die roll.
All right, let's do this.
And you,
is that right? Where's my D10? Here it is. No, I think that was a D8. Sorry, hold on. Is that D8? Yeah, what's my D10 on this? I'm always losing this.
The D10 is the only polyhedral shape that doesn't exist in nature. As I push my glasses up and give the history of die forms, everything else follows itself. Now remember, it's 0 through 9.
Ooh.
Yes. Oh.
Okay.
So they come in. I want you to sort of narrate what happens because it looks good. Because I picture mine where one jumps out of the woods, gets caught by the throat, and is held up against the tree. But yeah, narrate some of this failure.
I think I did roll the 8 the first time, didn't I? Right? That was a D10. Was that a D10 the first roll?
I don't know.
Okay, but then it's... I don't know. We'll say it's not.
I'll find out. Yeah, I think it is. Yeah, that was a D10 the first time.
Was it? Okay, cool.
You succeeded. All right. We've adjusted it.
I wasn't sure. I was like, which one was it? I'm scared.
Yeah, we're wolves. No.
I didn't know. Someone give me another.
All right, so sort of narrate the great success of the conflict between the Blood Wolves and the other side.
So this is all happening to the TV show, the Viking soundtrack. Heavy, like throat singing, and we just see like the horses running through the woods, and we see like a giant like spike trap come up, like full in netting, and like there's like skewers most of those horses, or like they buckle over, and then we see them like rappel from some of the trees and drop onto the ones who are like alive, while the ones at the back pop out of the dirt and like kick out the stragglers, and we don't really see like individual, we just see like shots of like screams and like flashes of blades and all that trash.
Flash to the inside of the armor.
Great, I love it.
Speed lines. A single like leaf drops, lands in a pond. All right, so we're up. Now, even though we're pretty sure the defenses hold, and the invasion will be repelled by the brilliant defense, let's see if there were any additional losses. So, Sarah Cataline, Jess, you get to determine the final stake. This will determine the mood for the end of the battle. What's up for grabs? What do we want to see happen? Get down, you cat! I see you back there.
Like squeaking their food dish away. It's just unbearably terrible. Like nails on a chalkboard. Sorry.
Those babies.
Yes, Catos.
Oh
gosh. Okay, the stakes are high. I think the final scene is going to be the other forces, while strong and bold, and we've literally smashed one of their heaviest knights into oblivion. I think there's a rogue-like assassin wandering through our armaments and going for the heart.
Is Antimony the heart?
Is he? Are they?
If this was an anime,
known to be the heart.
Well, I'm the one up on the battlements, like with all the maps and like directing people.
Yeah.
Oh
gosh!
Don't. Like, if this were like
don't let them.
I would be the general on the horseback.
That's very dramatic, though. I have to pose that question because I think TV series, think novel. Now, they're not the focus of the battle, but you introduce this robed assassin. An assassin's not going to go to kill, the barber. They're going to go to kill.
Can it be the Donald version of an assassin? Can they not have a
Donald killed 4 men today. Donald is dangerous.
Listen.
Donald beheaded like 4 people in a single swing of his sword.
He's mighty. He is mighty.
Donald's swole. Donald has gains.
I really like the idea of rogue assassin, but I honestly don't want it to.
You don't want the stakes to be that high, so let's scale it back.
Yeah.
So what would be? What if it's instead of being Antimony, it's your brother Atropus, who is fighting alongside Antimony?
And Athol has a lot. He's a high enough stake because he just married the princess.
Yeah, and go ahead.
I was just gonna say, if we want to keep the peak TV showness of it, we can say that they were going for Antimony, but have the price be potentially this person who's with them. So
Sir Cataline's brother
dies if this goes wrong, but they were actually going for Antimony in the first place.
That works.
They're the more reasonable target.
Well done.
All right, so it's a difficulty 12.
All right, let's see. I shall expend the tag. Battle sibling.
Perfect.
Battle sibling relates only to Sarah Helena, though, I think.
Oh,
That was a
Mother
special one.
Trucker. Was it? Yeah, okay.
Unless you want Sarah Helena to die as a consequence, but I don't think we're ready for that.
No. When Em brought it up, I was like, my butthole clenched. I was like, if you go after Helena, I'm going after Donald. I mean,
A Game of Squires is the new name of the series.
Yeah, honestly, the subtitle of this game should just be A Game of Squires, honestly.
yeah. Okay, so I think what would be most applicable in terms of tags? Heart of the Night, perhaps? We got Merciful One and Ancestral Blade, but
Well, I don't remember if your sibling is an actual knight, but maybe they do have the heart of the knight.
So Atropos is a retired knight. They were a great knight. And if they die, you better believe there's going to be this sad montage of when they were like cheering up crying little baby Cataline and things like that. And, you know, when they stuck up for you, when they trained you how to fight, when you surpassed them and they were proud of you. So there's going to be all those sad montage moments.
yeah,
If you succeed, they're just the blade's going to come for Antimony and they're going to catch it with their bare hand. It's going to bleed a little and they're just going to growl and then kill the assassin with a single blow. So
I believe it.
it'll either be sad or fierce.
Probably worth it to spend 2 points of valor.
Okay. And did you spend a tag?
Heart of the Night.
Okay, that works as well. So that'll add 3. So,
Does
okay.
Does he have any attractive qualities?
Atropos? Unfortunately.
Yeah, I don't.
Your personal ones,
As a
your personal
sister.
ones won't add, but Atropos unfortunately hasn't been fictionally woven, so some of those scores would possibly help them. But you know his wife. Yeah.
Let's be real. Genetically, he wasn't blessed in the attractive qualities situation.
Look.
All right, so rolling a d10, praying for a not 0. Hopefully, what was it? It was 3, 5. I can do math, so a 7 or higher.
7 or higher.
Oh boy.
Yes.
33% chance. 30%
I'm okay
chance.
with that. I'm okay with that. Good luck, brother. 9.
Nice.
So it's one of those things where we're celebrating the victory. Antimony, like wolves, are starting to salute them. They're starting to celebrate as the ships begin to burn and are repelled. There's much rejoicing. The wolves fought much braver than they had. However, that's when the bladed figure or robed figure descends from above. And as the blade comes right next to Antimony, a large hand catches it, and it is Atropos who squeezes the blade, turns it around, and cuts the would-be assassin's own throat with their own blade, and then drops it. And then, as they fall dead, the shores of Norfell were successfully defended that day. And that ends our big war scene. So that was our scene where we had this dramatic anime battle on the shores. So that's a different way to frame scenes if we don't want to have... Yeah, go ahead.
I just said heck as a positive
Heck,
explanation.
absolutely. Heck. I couldn't handle my own drama. Thank you for saving me.
So that was fun. Yeah. So with a score of 3-2, that actually ends the lunar invasion arc. It doesn't mean that war's over. It simply means that arc ends, which means we're going to get to play a tarot card to spice up the situation.
I thought it was 4-1.
You're right. It was 4-1. You succeeded at the end. 4-1. So
Down, sure. Tactician.
Anyone with the crummy? So yeah. So let me.
Question.
Yeah. Yes.
Is my brother poisoned now? Because
Only his
Logan
heart,
has
because
poisoned daggers.
that remains to be seen. I would say that may come. We can decide to ask that question in a different scene, which is actually okay. That's a good question to hold on to and pocket, because I think that's a pretty good one, where we learn that the Lunar Republic is introducing new poisons. And so that ends the lunar invasion. We are now going to divine what happens next in the story, which may or may not determine. So,
I have a question.
Yes.
You said that we can spend our tags if we're over.
Yes, and you can use them to make fictional elements. They're worth 3 points each.
Okay. Because I don't really need. Can I expend the true crown to bump up my actual crown stat?
Yep, 100%. You can just turn it into crown points as well.
Yeah, I'm going to do that to make them crown points. Because I don't need true crown anymore because I got the other one. How many are we allowed to have?
You should have 3. Hi, Baganova. Welcome to chat.
Okay. And I think I'm going to take off the long suffering. And I'd like to bump up the treaty in crown points.
All right, so we'll make those adjustments, and the treaty will be more important than it was. Now, I have drawn the 3 of Pentacles, so masterful skill, collaboration, learning. I think this is going to apply to sort of almost like a house wolf, house dragon, or former dragon renaissance, where there are other members of House Dragon that have sort of forsaken their house and have aligned themselves with Shev and Timony. So although they were a loner, the readings of the Antimony papers that have been circulating have led to some newcomers to help enjoy the new religious freedom amongst the wolves. They're kind of like tourists, but they're also kind of like tinkerers, where there is a strong alliance that has formed between former members of House Dragon and members of House Wolf, and they are integrating, collaborating. Some might even be romancing, as former wolves and former dragons begin the development of the kernel of a new house. Sphinx House. No. Yeah, so that's how I interpret.
I was trying to think. I'm like, what would this new house be? It's some cross between the wolves and the dragons, or the former dragons. I was like, is it like House Drake?
The Ligers.
The Ligers. Yeah. No, like, you gotta be careful with me. I'm like Gorgon House. No, it's the House Medusa. No, I'm okay with it being currently. They call themselves the Sphinx Society, and there's sort of this former aristocracy that is mingling and integrating with the wolves. The invasion has stopped. The war clock is actually going to go down for the time, but as we know in this game, things tend to pop up often. However, you'll notice that the Revolution clock and the Inquisition clock have been ticking up. The Revolution clock is actually it's ticked up 1 as a result of the end of that war. So the people are in turmoil. Inquisition as well is up 1 more. I've sort of changed the way these work just slightly. However, that repelled that. Let's there's going to be a new story clock, and it's Let me determine its strength. It's essentially what I want to call the season of daggers. No one trusts anyone within the land royal. There is a would-be boy king who's attempting to take the throne. The true crown is in possession of Laird Daniel. There is Council Lorenz, who is trying to fortify and claim they were the reason for victory in the
north.
Lunar invasion. As well as there are a lot of Raven Knights that have been spreading rumors about a true heir to the throne that they heard might have been executed by the Antillier. Those are simply stories, though. And so the new story clock is the Season of Daggers. And I'm going to place that on your game board where you can see that there is sort of this... Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, no, continue. I have a question about that.
Sure, yeah. And so another story clock has dropped. And so essentially the way this works mechanically is just it kind of frames how many scenes we're going to have around a theme. And the number of sides is based on the strength of the threat, which is a combination of the position on the clock and the roll of a 10-sided die. So, Season of Daggers. And what was your question? I apologize.
What happened, or I guess we can return to it as a scene, but what happened with Sir Kathleen and Jolly and the East?
Oh, we're going to return to that as a scene, because although that invasion has been repelled, that doesn't mean the war's over, and it doesn't mean they don't have other troops that are, patrolling the lands. We don't know how many areas they landed ships on, and we get to decide. Now, we're going to turn the time over to Chev Orphelia gets to frame the next scene, whatever you would like to frame it around.
Before I do that, looking at the time, I think the next scene I actually want to really want to see the aftermath of this battle. So I actually would like this scene to be framed around Antimony and Helena and my god, names. The one who just saved Antimony's life. Atropos, so we can see the aftermath of that scene. But before I do so, I would like to set up or do a fiction weaving.
Absolutely.
And this I would actually like to focus on Chev Beatrice, because I had a bit of an idea there. I think there is a secret and ancient order of knights that has been loyal to the true crown, which they probably currently believe is what's currently in Sir Daniel's possession. Whether that's true or not, who can say? But at this point, that's been pretty hard to trace. And that Chev Beatrice and by extension Alicenda were also part of. They're not allied to any particular house. They pick people purely by potential.
What is the name of the order?
Oh gosh. I mean, I kind of like the simplicity of. What if it's just like, The Order of the True Crown is a little bit too simple.
They might be called the True Knights, or Knights of Truth.
Knights of Truth. I like Knights of Truth.
Or
there might be a special emblem. It could be sort of like a mundane object, like I think the time of Charles II in England, there were like the Knights of the Garter. They might be the Knights of the Fleece. They might be the Knights of the Ring. There might be a signifier of their members.
Yeah, I'm kind of imagining this as like maybe it's like a very subtle kind of tell on. Maybe they're sort of like maybe Chev Beatrice has like an heirloom weapon that has some sort of emblem on it that looks like normal. If you're just looking at it, you don't know, but you know. That's how they recognize each other.
What?
Pietra's nickname is the Swan Knight. Are they the Knights of the Swan?
Oh, I like that. Yeah. Although that does kind of have some implications with we already have a million animal house names.
Okay, so something else. Maybe they're Knights of the Feather. Maybe they're Knights.
Yeah, I was thinking like maybe it's a quill actually. Maybe it's not a feather. It looks like a feather to normal inspection, but it's actually a quill because what they seek is truth.
I like that. Knights of the Quill.
Knights of the Quill. I like that. Okay.
All right. So how many points do you want to pump into
probably,
this?
Let's see.
Yeah, you have a lot of tags.
I do.
A bajillion. You could burn like 5 of them, have 15 points, be like 5, 5, 5. They're passionate and full of glory, and manipulate the crown.
So question for how I can spend tags here. If I spend a tag, do I get to say what narrative quality that comes along with? Okay.
100%.
I think in that case, given how this order chooses their knights, I think I'm going to spend True Friend to add 3 glory, and then Truth Speaker to add 3 crown. I don't know that necessarily these other ones. Well, actually, if they teach like a special, maybe there's some sort of like special sword technique that they are all taught that's kept very kind of under guard. So maybe Master Duelist would actually kind of tie into that. Because the other ones don't really apply, and that could be down to 3 tags. Okay. So that would be. Can I split between Passion and Glory for that? Or does it have to be all one?
Nope.
Okay.
You can split it up however you like.
All right. Then I think 2 Passion, 1 Glory for Master Duelist.
Excellent. I dig that.
I don't think Ophelia knows this yet, but that is probably true of Chev Beatrice and used to be true of, or possibly still is true of, Alessandra. Okay. But yeah, for the actual scene... Sorry, go ahead.
Is there anyone else we think might be part of this that we want to decide, or do we want to decide later?
Good question. I don't know, is there anyone any of you would think might really fit this?
So let's talk about what we want to find out at the celebration. So do we have a question we're looking for the answer to? And a good idea of a question might be, so we can talk about some of the people there. Are there any wolves that are looking to ascend? A question might be, does Antimony become a leader of the people? They don't necessarily have to be like a political leader. They might be a philosophical leader, things like that. But we can frame it however we want. Who do we want this scene to be about? What particular character or thing? Because that might help us figure out the question we're asking.
Oh, for the actual scene. I think Chev Antimony, of course. And then Sir Helena should probably be there.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Does Antimony convince Helena to forsake crown for people? That might be a question, because Antimony always defends the people. Yeah. Helena is the perfect knight. It might be that Antimony gains a powerful ally in Sir Helena.
I have another thing as well that might be interesting as well. That knight who is part of the wolves, but is supposed to be like hold the real ancestral blade. Like most likely they were there as well. And I was thinking if you wanted to have people who were in the secret order, since they've been wandering around, no one knows who they are, but they seem to have this sacred blade, they might be a perfect member for that.
Ooh, fair.
Yeah, I like
fair.
That.
So let's start setting our. So do we want this to be a personal, interactive scene between Antimony and Helena? Maybe several other people could be there as well. Maybe this is a short celebration or any kind of environment where they would find themselves interacting. It might be right after we've. In fact, we can make it very business-oriented because Helena's all business. Let's figure out how we're going to move and reposition troops. Let's figure out how we're going to refortify. By the way, can I have a word with you, Chev and Timony?
Of course. My time is always available for you, Sir Helena.
She doesn't quite flush, but her eyes feel like they're going to narrow, but they don't. And they are certainly charming, and they are crafty. But I have heard rumors of them.
As we walk and begin talking, I say, your defense of the battlements was masterful. I am glad that you were here with us. I don't think we would have been able to hold the line without your strength.
I fight as I was trained to. And I fight with all my heart. And then she kind of internally monologues, but today my heart was elsewhere. Kind of wistfully thinks of Sarah.
You fight as a true knight should. For the people, for duty, for the land that you protect. It is honorable.
In these times, honor is all I have. That and my sword.
That is important to... I think it is important to have your own sense of honor, of knowing what is important to you and what matters the most and fighting for it. What matters to you, Sir Helena?
She stops and thinks. She goes, what matters to me is to establish a land where the people will not fear to walk the streets or to travel the roads. What matters to me is to establish a land that is on friendly terms with their neighbors and not under constant threat of attack. What matters to me is that she starts to go on, and you can tell she's speaking a little more personally, and she's almost confiding some personal feelings that she has to you, and then catches herself. And then you can tell, for a knight so young, yet so perfect, she has probably seen more battles than many veterans. In fact, Helena has fought with your group of knights since the very first episode. Helena has been around. Then she speaks. She goes, Chev and Timony, I would have a season of rest for the kingdom. However, rest must be earned. We have to endure till that day.
And we will. I know that we will. Because there is no option to not.
Antimony, carry on, she says.
No, I wish to hear your thoughts. What you feel and what you think is important.
For a knight with no house, you show a great affection for the people of this kingdom. An affection that surpasses many other knights. I want to know what the source of it is and what your intentions are.
the source is... It was... and Timony like finds this place to sit for a second and like leans like it's story time almost.
Rocking chair.
Yeah, no, just like a log, like a timber that had fell that was meant for the battlements, and they just like sit upon it for a moment. It was years ago when I realized, I think, what I wanted to do with my life. You see, I was a middle child of House Dragon. My siblings, my older siblings, they were the heirs. They had great futures in front of them. And my younger siblings, they had alliances to make, marriages to deal with. And me, well, I wasn't always a calm and collected person. I see much of myself actually in the young Jolien, a wild, questioning child. And my family, they sent me to the Intramuros, and I read and I studied and I discovered, really I learned about myself that where I'm from, my family, those don't define me. The actions that I take, my position with my family, it doesn't define me either. Whether I am of the dragon, if I am the low child or the black sheep, that does not define me. What I do with the opportunities that I have, that is what defines me. And so I have the great privilege of my training, of my education. And if I do not use that to help others, then I have failed myself, as well as failing the world around me.
Helena nods to this. And then she explains, she goes, that describes a lot about your personality and how the reason why you act. But I'm curious what you act for. Is it simply an intellectual exercise because you are very educated, Chev Antimony? Or, and she kind of comes closer to you as this is occurring, she goes, do you intend to incite revolution and do away with crowns and knights and social hierarchies? You notice Sarah Helena is slightly more educated than you would expect out of a member of House Wolf who has trained at the blade since the day she was born. She explained, she goes, you have moved many pieces on the board. You have saved the boy king's life. He would have died today. The assassin would have targeted him. And our blades would have been distracted during that conflict. You have also saved House Wolf on several occasions. You have saved Chev Orphelia, though I feel your intentions behind that have other motivations, she kind of says with a smirk. However, I intend to learn your end game. What is it?
Well, in response to your first question, no, this is not a wholly intellectual exercise, although it is spawned in my intellectual musings. And no, I do not wish to wholly change the land royal, but I do wish to see it better. I think the need for knights is not past. There will always be a need for knights. There will always be a need for the strength that we bring and our purpose for the land and the guidance and protection that we offer. But I think that no single person can truly lead a nation not without their own vices or purposes guiding it. I think inherently we are all selfish in some way or another. There's no way to get around that. It is part of our nature.
Sarah Helena cut you off and says, I most certainly am not, and it is not part of my nature. She looks slightly offended at the implication.
I mean no offense. We all have things that we desire. I'm sure...
That word desire strikes a chord with her, and then she realizes, perhaps they are right.
We're all things we desire. And we cannot let the desires of a single individual overrule the desires of the many. And so I think some sort of rule through the many will allow each of us to keep in check any single desire of any single person overriding the greater good.
Antimony, I respect your philosophies on the situation. I respect your opinions on the situation. And I am thankful to call you friend. And should you need my sword or the sword of the wolves, we shall come when you call. And if you ask us to set our swords down, we shall do so. Let us part as friends. And she offers her hand out to you. It's a lean, delicate, smaller hand than would be expected of the perfect knight.
And Antimony will take it very graciously with both hands and hold it for a moment. Be like, I'm honored to call you friend, Sir Helena.
And it almost feels as if there is a kinship and connection between the two of you that is beyond house or loyalty to crown. You are similar souls in this moment. Helena nods and then quickly departs. And that is the scene. Helena most certainly respects Antimony's position. And with that, I'm going to give you a tag. It's very similar to how Pro has the Sovereign Will tag. You essentially have we can come up with a good word for it, but for now we'll call it at my word. At your word, they will draw their swords. At your word, they will set the swords down. They're going to wait for Antimony to act, the same as some will wait for Sir Danielle to request them to act, or Sir Cataline, or Cheverphilia. Knights respect other knights, and they put knights above one another.
What about, I'm thinking of just flavorful tags. What about the Wolves' Call? Or the Wolves'
That
Call?
works for certain. That works for certain.
I don't know. What do you guys think?
You could call it Akela, essentially the leader of the wolves from the Jungle Book. Akela, and Antimony's viewed as Akela at this moment.
Yeah. Wolf's Call, part of the pack, I guess. All of those.
I certainly like it. Am I lagging? Sorry, guys.
No, it's okay.
You see anything?
Okay. Yeah, I dig it.
Oh.
Oh.
So let's end on a short scene, and I'd just like us to frame the scene about. I want this to sort of be, because we're coming close to the end of the session. What the mood in Capital is. There won't be any roles. This is just going to be sort of flavor. The state of things in Capital, as well as the state of things on the trail to hunt Alicinda the Raven's Blade. The state of things on the path moving to the perilous and eternal Golden East, and then we'll talk about how our characters grew and changed throughout the session. So, Sarah Danielle, why don't you narrate the overall mood and feeling in Capital as it stands?
Yeah, I think there is there's a tension to the air. Like you can feel it. People start, like, it's not as lively as it once was. People don't really go out at night as much as anymore. The knights and the local guard are kind of at odds because of the councillor trying to berate them and control them. And each are doing kind of well their own. And I think there were like factions starting amongst their own, amongst like the knight control and then the local guard control, because no one is in control.
All right. And do you feel that your description adjusts one of our clocks forward or backwards? Because that's how we're going to do this now.
I think revolution.
All right.
I think people are getting tired of the all-encompassing voice on the throne.
Right. And Chev Orphelia, narrate for us as you and your mentor Beatriz are on the trail seeking after the ravens.
Yeah.
Go ahead and sort of describe that.
So I think what's happening there is they're going further and further off the beaten path into parts of Crown Royal that are not heavily traveled, don't have a large population, and so it's a lot of just them. And so I'm imagining there's kind of a montage as we go of them interacting in a way that's more friendly than they have previously. There's a lot more laughter between the two of them. Occasionally, like Beatrice is not a huge on like laughter type person, but she
knows that one joke.
Yeah, she knows one joke, and her feeling can kind of get her to laugh sometimes. And over the course of this montage, there are a couple instances of sparring where Beatrice is starting to teach Orphelia something that is new, that she has never tried to teach her before, a new kind of technique, something that's faster and more piercing and almost seems a little bit beyond the realm of what should be possible. And I think we end this on Orphelia stoops to pick up a feather, the same feather that's been creating this trail as they've been going, and looks really excited and hands it off to Chev Beatrice, who picks it up, looks at it, looks up at the sky, almost with a sense of foreboding in her expression, like as if this is too easy.
I'm worried that we're getting lured into a trap. We're going to be surrounded.
That shivers.
So that's going to be fun.
Oh, I'm so excited. Next up.
Sarah Cataline, and what of the motley trio marching to the east? There's Sarah Cataline, Captain of the Knights, Jolly, who's keeps singing the same song over and over again. This is the song that doesn't, and Christina's joining in with the cymbals.
Sarah Cataline tried really hard to be clever to get Jolly to stop singing the song, and was like, Jolly, why don't you explain the foliage here? And instead of the song, I now get nothing but a bunch of boy-splaining everywhere.
Yes, it's really, well, you know what they say, leaves of 3, let it be. Leaves of 4, eat some more. And he and Christina is starting to take this. And then Jolly's like, Yeah, and then Christina's like, "Hey, did you know you could smoke these?" And that's where we end the scene.
Forever pinching my nose and ruffling Farkas's top of his head, being like, "Please give me strength. Please give me."
Farkas whimpers at the end.
Somewhere I think like Antimony's ears are burning as you're like cursing their name.
Absolutely. Lord have mercy.
Perfect.
All right, and then Chev and Timony, why don't you take us home as we return back to Norfell? How is it left, and then does Antimony reside there, or does Antimony journey onward and elsewhere?
I think Antimony is staying up there for a while. There's this new Sphinx Society kind of building around them, and they're interested to see where that goes. And they want to help shape that. And I think they actually start going by Antimony the Sphinx.
And I think you are left with as the sun sets on the scene, Sarah Helena, you awake one morning, and she has left you a short poem that says, "Think where a person's glory most begins and ends, and say my glory was, I had such friends." And so you are left a kind little note from Sarah Helena. And so let's talk about very quickly how our characters grew during the session. So we'll go Cataline, Antimony, Orphelia, then Sardaniel. And also let us know after your character growth where we can find you online.
Cataline is learning patience and social cues that she never deemed necessary on the battlefield.
My plan is coming to fruition.
Oh, I imagine it won't be all superficial pain. I'm excited to see where the rest of this trip goes. Maybe I will grow fond of Jolly. Who knows?
Christina has a plethora of drinking games she can teach you. She's an interesting character. Wait till you get to learn some of the secrets around that one.
Indeed.
Yeah.
I'm intrigued. But yeah, this was a great one. I really liked the scenes and how they framed, and even though I don't think I just throwing it out there, Grant, you don't have to worry that like when a lot of the players are silent. I think as a GM you stress about like how long we go as a gap as a player, but like the engagement is very real.
I just want to make sure everyone's needs are being met. It's important for me to check in.
Yeah, absolutely. And we love you for it. My name is Jess Burst of Hope on Twitter, and that's honestly probably where I'm screeching the loudest about something or another. I have lots of cats. Martial arts is cool. I've had an interview with Graham. That was great today, so you should check out the VOD. But yeah, thanks for having me.
Thank you for coming. And Poisel.
Hi. Antimony, so we're asking how Antimony grew. Antimony, I think, is becoming more comfortable with the responsibilities that they have chosen to like put upon their shoulders. Because in the beginning, Antimony was educated but wasn't world weary and hadn't yet really learned what their place in it was. But now that they've seen war so many times and realized the impact that they personally have on keeping people alive and keeping people safe and like guiding things, that it weighs on them, but they now it doesn't weigh on them heavily. I think they're starting to develop a sense of like pride in the effect that they can have on the world. And so it's been very interesting. I love bringing all this political philosophy into this. I'm glad that my time as a poli-sci major and like philosophy minor didn't like go to waste when I switched over to communications. So this has been great, and I'm excited to see where this goes in the future. Where you can find me is you can find me on Twitter at @apoisel, or on Twitch on twitch.tv/poisel. Coming up, I have a regular show on Sundays. Tomorrow I will be on twitch.tv/qtimes at noon Pacific. It's the first episodes of our City of Mist arc that we're doing, and it's going to be a ton of fun. I'm playing a radio shock jock, and it is
I'm so
amazing.
excited.
I'm so excited. On Monday night, I am have a guest appearance on twitch.tv/DND at 8 p.m. Pacific on the Guilds of Ravnica show, The Broken Pact. Over there, it's going to be amazing. I'm super excited for that. And on Wednesday, starting this week, you can find me on twitch.tv/Scabby Rooster, where I'll be playing in a Starfinder game starting at 8 p.m. Pacific as well.
I definitely appreciate me being a bit of a philosopher. I enjoy all the scenes, be they personal, as a former romantic poet, as well as a shenanigans maker when it comes to politics, military history, etc. And M, how's that session for you? No.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. I'm really enjoying this new narrative engine, and how it lets us kind of bounce all over the place. Yeah, so I'll keep this quick since we're kind of on time. So Chef Ophelia, she did a fight and she won. But getting to really delve a little more into the Beatrice Ophelia relationship and really kind of earn her actual respect this session was really important, and I'm very excited to see how the new bits and elements we've added into Chef Beatrice's whole deal kind of plays out in the future. Although I'm really concerned about next session. Why did I do that? Yeah, this is fine. But yeah, you can find me at eTreffery on Twitter, where I yell about magical girls and do art sometimes and stuff.
And last but not least, and our friend who will begin next session by setting the first scene, Pro Restarter.
Hey, yeah, super good game. Glad to be back. I think Sir Daniel he's grown to let go a lot of the pain and stop letting it forge their kind of path forward, and learn to kind of forgive and also kind of maintain that belief that the church is for the people and it should be the uplifting of the people and move that forward, rather than like political kind of game, but helping those who can't help themselves. So I think moving towards that and becoming softer than more spiked.
Yeah, it's interesting to watch sort of the character growth and change and development. So thank you all for watching. My name is Grant Ellis. You can find me online at WisePapaGrant on Twitter. That's where you can check my game schedule. Of course, I run here on Saturday nights, but I'm sponsored by Monty Cook Games. I'm a producer for WebDM, and there's a lot of titles that I've worked on that will be coming out over the course of the next year. Stick around for the next show. My friend Baganova is going to be running some Barum. Goodbye.